Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. True Gamer, as always for you. And finally, Crossfire Sierra Squad is out on the PlayStation VR2. Now, I can tell you just from the get-go, this game is not what you think it is. This game is 100% an on-rails arcade light gun experience. So if you're looking for any tactical realism or anything like that, you will not find it here. But with that being said, there is definitely some good things about this game, but for the most part, it's definitely not what the VR community wants to see. So as always, first and foremost, we'll hop into the settings. Settings, there's nothing too crazy. All I can say is you most definitely want to turn down your volume for the main music, because when you first launch into the game, it is ridiculously loud and even kind of overpowers your thoughts. So make sure you turn that down. But they definitely do have the normal standard settings for snap turning or smooth turning. As always, you could play standing or seated, which is cool. But not a whole lot of things going on as far as accessibility goes, as far as gripping the guns and things like that. It's all just kind of standard settings, nothing out of the ordinary. So nothing special to see here. There is two different game modes. There is the actual story mode, which I hate to disappoint everybody, but is only about 2 to 3 hours long. The story mode's length depends on what kind of difficulty you want to put it on. It can be anywhere from easy all the way up to a default mode called Devs Could Not Beat, which I guess is the ultra hard mode or whatever you want to call it. Haven't tried it yet, so it's kind of interesting. Basically, there's also another mode that puts you into missions that are based off of the story mode, and that's pretty much going to be your co-op modes right there for you. And really all it is just little snippets taken out of the main story missions of some of the harder and more action-packed parts of the game that you get to play with your friends. Really, the game is super action-packed. It really kind of reminds me of this Call of Duty, like, action-packed story, but it just feels very cheesy and lame as far as being in virtual reality. For the most part of the game, the voice acting looks good, the characters look pretty good, and just overall beauty that the PSVR2 definitely adds to VR gaming. But it's definitely very lackluster. There's no real background to it. But the only thing that really makes it epic is just kind of like the onslaught and waves of enemies that you fight against. And it's action-packed because it's just so nonstop that you're kind of just constantly firing and makes it feel like an action movie. Other than that, this game 100% makes it feel like a light gun game. Kind of like Area 51 and Time Crisis and Revolution X. Those type of games that are from the PS1 era. And the reason why it makes you feel like that is because when you actually shoot enemies, it gives you these massive crosshairs, which make things really feel super arcadey. But we'll get into that later. So with the actual guns on this, you can choose different loadouts, and basically you gain XP, you're able to unlock different weapons, you can kind of customize them a little bit, which is really cool because the guns, in fact, do look realistic, but that is it from the guns. The guns actually sound really bad, nothing like they would in the real world, which really, really takes away from the game. And it's kind of laughable how some of them sound. A lot of them almost sound alike, to be honest with you, just with a little tweaks. Reloading on the guns. This is where a lot of people are going to fall off. Yes, it's a little bit more in-depth than Firewall, but not full VR still. Reloading consists of just being able to pull the magazine out, reaching to your belt to grab the magazine and putting it back in the gun. You're not able to rack the slide, anything like that. It's just a simple, quick dropping of the magazine and putting a new one in, nothing at all. And that kind of brings me to where you're holding the gun. Holding the gun, you do not have to hold any triggers or anything of that nature. You literally just bring your hand up to the barrel and it kind of automatically, magnetically snaps to the barrel. This is cool, makes things a lot easier to handle, but when you're trying to reload, you almost have to jerk your hand away from the gun to get it to unsnap to grab your magazine. So it's easy, it's simple, it's no big deal. Grenades are on your left hand, which you're able to grab and pull the pin and actually physically throw. So you do have that mechanic where you're able to physically feel like you're throwing a grenade and kind of have the accuracy with it too, which is kind of off, to be honest. On your right hand is going to be a stim pack, which you do grab with your left hand and shove it into your chest when you're taking damage, and it pretty much just revives you automatically. One thing I really do like is the sniper rifles. The sniper rifles are cool because when you actually bring the gun up to your face, it goes into this automatic like aim down sight zoom mode, which lets you look down the scope completely and aim at your targets. One thing that's kind of awkward about this is it kind of goes in, once you get close to your enemies, it goes into this like slow-mo, hold your breath, like time freeze that lets you aim at the enemies and shoot them. I wish it was just a button you were able to press to kind of like hold your breath and slow down a little bit, but it gives you like this action hero type thing where time is all frozen and you're able to actually, you know, line up the enemies and hit them. But really, it's literally like a slow-mo mode, which is kind of crazy. So kind of back to the story a little bit. It does make you feel like you're in an action movie. It's kind of like a non-stop action. It's basically just waves and waves of enemies coming at you, which is just fine. But the problem is the enemies have all kinds of health bars. They take multiple shots. And the worst part about it is all the enemies kind of have this same animation where they're running at you in like this crouched Gears of War, like roadie run type, like entrance from wherever they spawn from. It's kind of crazy. And the thing is a lot of the enemies spawn from the same place. You can even shoot them from their spawn point, and they basically all bunch up, and you could pretty much shoot them all in a line, and they all just kind of fall in the same spot. So they really aren't smart in any way, shape, or form. It just looks really funny and super arcadey when you're looking at it. It's kind of terrible, and they're super easy to kill. It's just quite interesting. It's the story though is decent. You know, I wouldn't expect any AAA like acting or anything. The voice actors sound okay. It's kind of got this like strung along, like, okay, what happens next type thing. What happens next? There's only 13 levels. And like I said, I was able to complete the game in under 2 hours, and that was on easy and normal. So don't be looking for anything too long here. What I do want to get into is when you actually do beat the game, there is this realism mode where basically you take more damage. Enemies don't have health bars, there's less HUD, and basically there's a little more like strategic thing going on here. But for the most part, this whole entire game is on rails. You're kind of not exactly on rails, but you're confined to the little space that you're fighting in, and even has like a line that shows you, okay, let's go to the next place, and it really just makes it feel like you're playing an old school light gun game. It's very interesting and kind of disappointing at the same time. So from there, basically I was on one of the last levels, level 11, and spawned into this. Basically, I was able to play the whole entire level looking like the shaders and graphics didn't load in. It was kind of like a like dev mode type thing. So that was one of the major glitches that I definitely spawned in. And saw right off the bat with level 11. Only when I restarted the whole entire game and spawned back in, I was able to play the game like normal. The other thing that's kind of annoying is you are backed out you're forced to back out, should I say. You actually have to select the menu and go back out to the main menu after every single level. The story just doesn't continue. It makes you look at your stats, makes you see your rank, what you did, whether, it's A, B, C, D tier, S tier, and things like that. But you're forced to back out every single time after every single level, which I thought was really, really odd. And spoiler alert here, by the end of the game, you're basically fighting zombies again, which I really did not want to see from this game. We all know all these shooters nowadays, everybody wants zombies in them, and it's just so played out. It's cheap, it's terrible, it's filler. It's just crazy to me that we're still shooting zombies. And, zombies, for the most part, will never go away. I get that. But from a game like this that was supposed to be all, cool, shoot 'em up, beat 'em up, action-packed, the zombies were actually laughable. And we're dying in the same spot. And it was crazy, man. I totally disappointed in the ending of the story. But that's neither here nor there. It's kind of like this build up to just a letdown pretty much the whole entire time of the game. So, my final thoughts on this game is it's beautiful. The guns look cool, even though they don't fire realistically. They don't sound good. Some of the aiming was pretty cool. The AI are absolutely stupid and bunch up. But the game is action-packed, and if you're kind of in a nostalgic mood, it definitely makes it feel like it's a light gun shooter, and it's kind of cool at the same time, but you're just not expecting it in VR, and it feels odd. For the price point of this game at $30, I think you get what you pay for. I think the real highlight of this game will be playing the game in co-op with all your friends. And with that realistic mode coming only at the end of you beating the story the first time, I think it'll be fun to crank up the hardcore mode basically all the way to the hardest difficulty and play with your friends. I think it'll be interesting to see people playing that, and you can always have a few brews and laugh with your buddies. So I think that's really where the game's at. It's worth the price point. But don't buy this game looking for an epic shooter that's awesome. And, you should have known from the trailers what you were going to get with this. And that's exactly what I think it is. A arcade shooter that's semi on rails and kind of laughable. So, as always, if you like what you saw, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you on the next episode.